It is the weekend, which means it is time to talk travel. Welcome to the Inside Travel Talk podcast, a radio show. Coming up on today's show, we will be talking about picking your own seat on Southwest Airlines, advanced reservations to go see the USS Arizona Memorial in Pearl Harbor have been suspended. We'll give you the details on that. We've got the hot travel deal of the week. This week, we're going to Mexico, Cabo San Lucas specifically, and we've got two cruise deals of the week. Let's start the show. The Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show presented by BluePlanetVacations.com contains travel deals, promotions, and offers that may be time sensitive. All offers and information were accurate when the show aired. Travel deals and offers change constantly and are capacity controlled and subject to change without notice.
Explore your world. It's the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show, presented by BluePlanetVacations.com. Call or text the show now, 801-649-3700, 801-649-3700, and check out the podcast at InsideTravelTalk.com. And now, here are your hosts, Patrick Wiscombe and Mark Faldmo.
Welcome to the weekend. It is the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show. Hello there. I'm Patrick Wiscombe alongside Mark Faldmo. And if you are brand new to this show, we're going to help you plan and book your next vacation or just give you ideas of where you may want to vacation next. And we are presented by BluePlanetVacations.com, and just a sincere thank you for taking the time to stop and listen. And coming up on today's show, we are going to be talking about picking your own seat on Southwest Airlines. After how many years, Mark? They've never done this before that I can recall.
Nope, it's just whenever they started, they've always had that open seat policy.
No more. We'll tell you how you can take advantage of that. We've also got advanced reservations for the USS Arizona Memorial, which is in Pearl Harbor. We've got news regarding ticket sales being suspended. There's a little bit more to that story. We'll give you the details. This week, we're headed to Cabo. We're going to do a little bit of whale watching. That will be the hot travel deal of the week. And we've got two cruise deals of the week that you'll want to stick around for. But let's get to the travel news headlines. Let's start with the big headline. Mark, I think this is great news for anyone who doesn't want to crowd the gate. I'm going to say that this is probably where gate crowding started with Southwest.
Yep, Southwest, and then through different measures, they kind of mitigated that, where you line up in the order that you check in, basically. But now they are starting pre-reserved seat assignments. And that actually starts Tuesday, so July 29th. If you're booking a flight on that day for a flight that departs on January 27th or later, you will be able to choose seats on those flights.
Wait, did you say January 27th?
Yes. So reservations go on sale to choose your seats on July 29th, next Tuesday.
Got it.
For flights on January 27th or later.
Okay, so basically 6 months from now, roughly.
6 months. And Southwest usually releases their schedules in 6 to 8 month increments. So this is their regular release of their winter schedule.
This will be welcome news that you can just pick your seat. Is there going to be any open seating, or is this just, hey, we're going to assign you a seat now for everyone?
Well, everyone will assign a seat, but they do have kind of gone the way of other airlines. So they have a basic fare, which you do not get a complimentary seat until you check in or get to the gate. And then they have choice fare, which will be where you get to choose a seat. Preferred, which will be seats closer to the front of the airplane. And then choice extra will be the extra legroom. So they have 4 different kind of seat choices there.
Such great news, because it was chaotic around the gate. This is just a welcome change for anyone flying Southwest.
Yeah. Unless you figured out how to game the system, like me.
Hold on. How did you do it?
Well, A few years ago with Southwest Vacations, kind of on a committee, there was some flight attendants, and we had them for like 3 months track all the empty seats on the airplane.
Oh.
And so we found out that the second to last row on the right side of the airplane, the middle seat, was the most likely to be empty. So that's where I would always sit. And it does work on occasion to get no one sitting there, because when it starts getting full, people take all the empty seats ahead of that. And then if you're going to the back of the plane, they always look to the right for a seat. So
That's true.
when you're on the left side of the seat, that, second or third row back, you were more likely to have an empty seat.
You know what? You're right. You always look to the right first.
Yeah. So.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not insider trading. This is inside seating.
Seating. Yeah.
So this is how you.
Although that trick is now gone.
We do have some news about Pearl Harbor, specifically for tickets for the USS Arizona Memorial, that the advance reservations have been suspended. We've got details on that.
Well, a few years ago, the Arizona Memorial actually had some damage due to shifting, and so it was closed for a long period of time. It's been open for several years now, but they do need to do some additional renovations, additional work on that. You used to be able to go in 56 days in advance of when you wanted to go and reserve a time to go to the Arizona Memorial. So what they've done is suspended that reservation. They may open up 24 hours before. So if you want to go tomorrow, you could look on the site and see if it's there, or just take standby reservations as space is available just when you're there that day. So they're not closing the memorial. They just don't know when it'll actually be open, which hours of the day. And so they're planning around that. So you now can't go in well in advance to reserve your Arizona Memorial.
Pearl Harbor itself is open. It's just to the USS Arizona, where you have the iconic, that white.
Yeah, the white building
platform,
over the viewing platform over the Arizona.
Yeah, that is special.
It is.
I was surprised at how alive the boat was. It was still leaking oil. I saw a little softball-sized drop of oil, if that's a drop, come up. And I was like, oh my word, this thing is still leaking oil. I was surprised how alive the ship was in that regard.
It is a great place to visit.
You had a list of the best domestic airlines for 2025. Who are the top airlines, domestic airlines, in this particular news story?
First of all, this is from a publication, The Points Guy, and they do this every year. They put out the top domestic airlines. What they look at is 30% reliability, 25% of the score is experience, 20% is cost and reach, and 25% is loyalty.
When they talk about reach, are you talking about their network of where they fly?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So pricing and where they fly.
Okay.
And so for the 7th year in a row, Delta Airlines was number one, which is good for us here in the Salt Lake market, major hub for Delta. Number 2 was United Airlines, which is up 1 spot from last year. This one surprised me. Number 3 was Southwest Airlines, which is up 2 spots. And then Alaska Airlines was down 2 spots, came in at number 4. And Hawaiian Airlines up 2 spots to number 5. Delta, I'm glad to see there. That was no surprise. The jump that Southwest made with all of the talk and everything that's been happening, that was surprising to me.
We want you to be part of the show. If you have travel-related questions while we are on the air right now, as you're listening to us, send us your travel-related questions, text them or call them to 801-649-3700, 801-649-3700. Why do I bring that up? Well, the destination of the week, which is always in this segment, is a question that was texted to us from Marianne. In that text, she says, I want to do something unique in Rome. What are Mark's recommendations?
There's several different ways you can do tours in Rome. I have a company I work with that I love to do. They have all local tour guides and they're all private tours. So the tours are just priced on usually like 1 to 6 people, maybe 1 to 10 people. Just priced for the whole tour. And so I really like these private tours. because you get a little bit more one-on-one. You get a more in-depth and more localized tour. In Rome, a tour that I was looking at, it's called Ancient Rome, an underground experience. This is with a private tour. You can do this one for up to 6 people for about $600 total.
Oh, wow.
It's a half-day tour, but it does a lot of the typical sites you would want to see in Rome, like the Forum, the Colosseum. But then it goes into some places that not a lot of people go, down into the underground, into the catacombs and some of the different parts of Rome that many tourists just don't go to. And so
generally speaking, you skip all the lines too. You just go straight to the front.
With a lot of these, yes. And so, this company, I love working with them. I have, actually, they're in Rome too. I have a family going to Rome. And so I did a 2-day tour in Rome for them. So they're with the tour guide the whole time, just doing different things before they go get on a cruise. And one thing I like about this is the tour guide, they're flying in actually to Rome on Christmas Day.
Oh.
And the tour guide knew that and said, there's not a lot going on Christmas Day. Do you want me to pick them up from the airport and take them to a private cooking class or something?
Oh, wow.
And so, they'll just do unique things like this. And it's a really good way to see these destinations. I like touring of anyway, but when you can do it with a private guide, like that Ancient Roman underground experience, it's like $600. You can do that up to 6 people, so about $100 a person to do that, which is as much as a bus tour with 40 other people.
Yeah, you might as well just do it by yourself or, minimal number.
Do it private with a private local guide.
Let me give you out the text in the studio line right now. We're getting a text from, is this Jacob? Yeah, it is. 801-649-3700, 801-649-3700 is how you get a hold of the show either during the week or while we're on the air. Jacob wants to go fishing and whale watching in Cabo, and he also wants to see Sammy Hagar at his bar.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, I made that part up. Patrick wants to go to Sammy Hagar's bar. When is the best time to go is his question.
He had 2 different parts, fishing and whale watching. Fishing in Cabo, the best time to go is September through November, and whale watching is December through April. So you'll see whales starting in October. The fishing does go down. So when we talk about the deal, I actually looked at a mid-October date for Jacob. Fishing in Cabo, I've not been much for kind of that outdoors fishing thing, but I did go fishing in Cabo once. We had a company that had a fishing and golf tournament, but by day 4, all of their people were fished out. So we had all these fishing boats sitting there. So I went out by myself with a boat crew. They had 4 lines in the water. I caught 20 mahi-mahi in about 2 hours. I was so tired. And I was like, let's go back. And but you still have 3 hours left. So I was like, no, let's go back. And, Cabo is a really good place for fishing because, right there at Land's End, is the continental shelf that gets deep. And so as the current comes in, it stirs up all the food right there, just right outside of Cabo. So a great place for fishing. Also about Cabo is the last few months, it's really dropped in prices. So what I looked at was October 15th for 5 nights for Jacob. So this is more in the fishing season than the whale watching season. But a 4-star at the Villa del Palmer is $999 a person.
And that includes airfare, right?
Yeah, that's airfare. That was on United Airlines. The 5 nights hotel and transfers. And that also does include that standing promotion we've been talking about, up to $200 off per reservation.
Okay, and this includes the $200 off, correct?
This includes the $200 off, correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so, but overall, this is about $300 lower than what we've seen the same thing in Cabo previously.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And then, jumping up to 5-star hotels, the Riu Palace Cabo is $1,279. Probably my pick is the Grand Fiesta Americana, which is $1,689 per person. That one is kind of up on a cliff and the hotel terraces down to the beach. I love the views from there. I just remember during whale season, sitting in my room, I could just look out and watch the whales just right out there from that Grand Fiesta Americana. Those are all 3 really good choices in Cabo.
Take advantage of those offers. Jacob, If you haven't booked it already, call Mark in his office during the break or when you get a second. No obligation. 888-718-7717, 888-718-7717. And also take advantage, Marianne, about the private tours in Rome. You won't be disappointed. 888-718-7717. When we come back, it is the segment of the show that we are famous for. We just simply call it the infamous Just Cruising segment, where it's only about the cruise news and it's only about cruise deals. That is next when the Inside Travel Talk podcast, a radio show, continues. Alongside Mark Faldmo, I am Patrick Wiscombe. Thank you so much for listening. We will be right back.
Taking you to destinations around the world. The Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show is presented by BluePlanetVacations.com, America's best travel advisors. Call or text the show now. 801-649-3700. 801-649-3700. Thanks for listening. We'll be right back.
Inside Travel Talk is brought to you by AMA Waterways. From castles and capitals to vistas and villages, visit some of Europe's most remarkable sites and cities. To set out on your own river cruise journey, contact Blue Planet Vacations at 888-718-7717 or blueplanetvacations.com.
Now, back to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show, presented by BluePlanetVacations.com, America's best travel advisors. Call or text the show right now, 801-649-3700, 801-649-3700, and check out the podcast at InsideTravelTalk.com. Here's Patrick Wiscombe and Mark Faldmo.
The beautiful ship horn of Norwegian's Aqua. Coming up in this segment of the Inside Travel Talk podcast, a radio show, we will be talking about camping and kayaking in Antarctica. What does that got to do with cruising? Because HX is offering it. And I saw this headline that Margaritaville at Sea has details on their new flagship. So you and I were on Margaritaville at Sea. What was it? It was the Paradise.
Paradise.
And then they came out with a new flagship called the Islander, if I've got that correct.
That's correct.
And then, so these are details on their new flagship. I don't know when it comes out. In fact, let's start there. What is the name of their new flagship and what details do we have?
Their new ship is going to be the Margaritaville Beachcomber. It'll be a refurbished ship. It was formerly the Costa Fortuna, which is a 100,000 gross ton ship.
Oh, big
holds
ship.
Holds about 2,700 passengers. Right now, we just know the name of it. We don't know where it's going to sail or what it's going to do, but it will have many of the iconic Margaritaville venues like 5 o'clock Somewhere Bar, Cheeseburger in Paradise.
There we go.
Which is awesome. License to Chill nightclub. So I'm interested to see where that ship is going to sail.
HX, refresh my memory. Isn't that the more expedition portion of the company?
So it's Expedition Cruising. HX is now its own company. It used to be Hurtigruten, and they are now two fully separate companies. They have some really interesting shore excursion options. In their Antarctica season, they are increasing their kayaking capacity by 188%, and they're doubling their camping capacity. One of the excursions you can do on Hurtigruten in an Antarctica cruise is they take you ashore by Zodiac with camping equipment, and you actually spend the night on Antarctica.
Oh, see, that I would do in a second.
Yeah, and so, that's, really for the adventure, but they provide all of the equipment for that, a tent, insulated sleeping mat. So they include everything you need. They do advise if you're going to do that, to just make sure you are responsible for your own warm clothing. That's just a unique experience that I would love to do. Camp for a night. And they've offered this, but they've not had the capacity. It used to be on a lottery system. So you would, put in your name and you get drawn from a hat. They still don't have enough for the whole ship to do it, but it's now not a lottery. So it's just on a first come, first serve because the ship's like 200 people and they have like 90 spots for this. So they have plenty of space for generally anyone who wants to do it.
Let's get to the world's best cruise line awards for 2025. Where do you want to start? 5? Let's go backwards.
This is from Travel and Leisure. They have a whole bunch of different categories, but we're just going to take cruise line overall. Number 5 is Royal Caribbean.
Really? There are only 5? I would have thought they were up there. Okay.
Yeah. Number 4 is Princess Cruises.
You're a big fan of Princess too.
I love Princess. Number 3, and this is a surprise, is Costa Cruise Line, which is an Italian cruise company owned by Carnival Corporation.
Yeah, that is a little surprising. Have you ever sailed Costa?
I have sailed Costa to the Norwegian fjords. Yep. Number 2 is Celebrity.
Oh, dude, I love Celebrity.
And number 1 is Virgin Voyages.
Really?
This is their first time on this list as number 1. We've talked about Virgin Voyages quite a bit. I think that's a well-deserved number 1 spot. There are a couple surprises on this list. The first surprise was Costa. They typically don't even show up on this list.
Right.
They weren't in the top 10 last year. So they've done quite a bit to get up there. And they're very Italian. And so that's what, a lot of Americans cruise on it, and it's too European for them. Number 2 surprise is that Norwegian didn't make the top 5.
That's surprising. Yeah.
In a different part of this survey where they rated all the small ships, and even on this overall, Viking has always been on that list. So Viking for like 10 years in a row has been the number 1 small to mid-sized cruise line, and they dropped to number 3 behind Crystal Cruises and Explora Journeys.
Cruise deal of the week, which is always in this segment of the show. We just simply call this the infamous Just Cruising segment. And during the break, we received a text from, who is this? Rachel? It is Rachel.
Rachel. Yep.
801-649-3700. 801-649-3700 is how you get a hold of the show when we're on the air. And even when we're off the air, to ask your travel-related questions. Rachel is asking, are there any good Panama Canal cruises in the fall? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Availability really isn't an issue. So it's a matter of pretty much when you want to go.
October is the best time. It's when all the cruise lines are sending their ships from Alaska into the Caribbean. And so there's a lot of, these would be called repositioning cruises, although it is a true Panama Canal, but they are repositioning the ships. I found 2. One is a good price and one is a good itinerary. So the first one is sailing on October 11th. It's a 16-day cruise on Carnival Cruise Lines on the Carnival Spirit. It goes from Seattle to New Orleans. It has stops in Cabo San Lucas, Punta Arenas, which is in Costa Rica, then goes through the Panama Canal to Cartagena, Colombia, and ends in New Orleans. This one starts at $1,079 per person for an inside cabin, or $19.99 for a balcony cabin.
And that's 16 days, you say?
16 days. Mm. Yeah. So that is, for the inside, that's less than $100 a day. And for a balcony, it's a little bit over $100 a day. The next cruise is also a Panama Canal cruise. This is probably the one I would choose just because of the ports. It's Los Angeles to Fort Lauderdale. It's also 16 days, but it visits Puerto Vallarta, Huatulco in Mexico, which is one of my favorite places.
Yeah.
Goes to Chiapas in Mexico, and then goes to Punta Arenas in Costa Rica, then goes to Fort Amador, which is on the Pacific side of the Panama Canal. So it has a full day there. And then the next day it goes through the Panama Canal, goes to Curacao, and then ends in Fort Lauderdale. Actually, the balcony cabin is where the deal is on this. So we'll just go with that. The balcony cabin is $19.49 per person. The inside cabin is way expensive on this. And
How funny.
so I didn't check that, but the balcony is actually a little bit less than that Carnival cruise. So, but that's the one I would choose. Again, October 27th, Los Angeles to Fort Lauderdale. And the Panama Canal is a fascinating cruise itinerary.
You've raved about it for years.
Those places in southern Mexico, I think, are just great to visit.
Rachel, I hope that answers your question. If you have follow-up questions, call Mark in his office as soon as we get off the air. But if you need to call now for whatever reason, he will return your call. 888-718-7717. 888-718-7717. Take advantage of those offers. Going to Rome, going to Cabo, going to go see the fishing and the whale watching. That's for Jacob. And you can stream, download, and subscribe to the podcast at InsideTravelTalk.com. We are on all of the major podcast platforms, and you can just go to the website, InsideTravelTalk.com, to get all the links, or just do a search for Inside Travel Talk. Well, our job is done. Now it's your turn to get out and explore the world while you can, because you never know what curveballs life is going to throw at you. We say this each and every week: live your life deliberately and live your life intentionally. Don't let life push you around. Thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you again next week.
That's it. That's the end of the show. You've been listening to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show with Patrick Wiscombe and Mark Faldmo, presented by BluePlanetVacations.com. Book your adventure right now. Call 888-718-7717. That's 888-718-7717. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.
This segment of Inside Travel Talk is sponsored by El Dorado Spa Resorts. Escape to Cancun's Riviera Maya with authentic, all-inclusive luxury at an El Dorado Spa Resort. To book your romantic beach getaway, contact Blue Planet Vacations at 888-718-7717 or blueplanetvacations.com.